It was a cold night on planet Karya 4. The wind howled outside the metal walls of Derek's small cabin. His house stood alone, far from the colony town. The stars were hidden behind thick gray clouds. A storm was coming. Inside, Derek sat near a small fire, sipping hot tea. He was a retired human engineer, now living a quiet life. No friends, no visitors. Just him, a few tools, and silence. Then just past midnight, he heard it knock, knock. He froze. No one should be out here. Not at this hour. Not in this weather. He placed his mug down, slowly stood, and grabbed the old plasma pistol he kept by the door. His boots hit the metal floor with heavy thuds as he approached the entrance. Knock, knock, this time softer. Almost weak. He pressed a button. The door slid open with a hiss. There she stood, a young alien girl, no taller than his chest. Thin, shaking, covered in a dirty cloth that barely counted as clothing. Her purple skin was bruised. Her hands were chained together with broken metal cuffs. Her eyes, large and glowing, softly looked up at him with fear. Before he could speak, she whispered, voice barely a breath. I can cook, I can clean, I can be quiet. Derek stared in shock. She looked ready to collapse. Double quotes. She added, swaying on her feet. Don't send me back. He didn't move. His heart pounded. Who was she? Where did she come from? She took a weak step forward, and her knees buckled. Derek acted on instinct. He dropped the gun and caught her before she hit the ground. She was ice cold. Damn it. He muttered. He pulled her inside and closed the door. Inside, he laid her on his old couch near the fire. She didn't fight. She didn't speak. Just shook silently, like a scared animal. Derek grabbed a blanket and wrapped her gently. Her skin was too cold. Her hands had small burns around the cuffs. Fresh, he brought a cup of water. She took it with both hands and drank slowly, careful not to spill a drop. As if wasting anything would be punished, he watched her in silence. What's your name? He asked softly. No answer. Where are you from? She looked away. He saw her eyes glance toward the door, fear in every movement. You're safe now, he said. She blinked, then slowly nodded, like she wanted to believe it. But COULDN single quote C. Over the next hour, she didn't sleep. Instead, she moved quietly around the room. She picked up his tools, placed them neatly on shelves. She swept the floor with her hands, even cleaned the table. Derek didn't stop her. He just watched, puzzled. Why are you doing this? He asked. She looked up, lips trembling. If I'm useful, maybe you won't throw me out, she whispered. That hit him hard. He sat down and rubbed his face. This wasn't just a runaway. She'd been trained to serve. Maybe even forced. Did someone hurt you? He asked. She didn't answer, but her silence said enough. Hours passed. She moved with care, never speaking unless asked. She avoided sudden sounds. Every time the fire popped, she flinched. When Derek raised his hand to fix the heater, she backed away. She had been hurt badly, and still she tried to clean. Finally, Derek stopped her. You don't have to do that. I do, she said quickly. I must. No, you don't. She froze. Confused. He brought her a small meal, just warmed bread and soup. She hesitated, then bowed her head slightly before eating, like a slave giving thanks. Derek's chest tightened. What happened to you? He muttered. She looked at him, her voice low. They said I was no longer needed. Threw me out. Said I couldn't make children. Said I was broken. Derek stared at her in disbelief. Thrown away. Like trash. I'm not broken, she whispered. More to herself than to him. He nodded slowly. No, you're not. The wind screamed outside. But inside the cabin, the fire was warm. Derek sat silently while the girl curled up near the heater, finally closing her eyes. He didn't know her name. He didn't know her past. But one thing was clear. Someone had thrown her away like she was nothing, and somehow she had found his door. And he opened it. The next morning, Derek woke up to the smell of something cooking. He sat up quickly, confused. He never cooked this early. He never even had visitors, but now he smelled real food, warm, spiced. Something like eggs and herbs. He grabbed his old jacket and walked toward the kitchen, and there she was, the alien girl. The one he found in the storm. Wearing one of his long shirts like a robe, her hair tied back with a piece of wire. She stood barefoot by the stove, quietly flipping a small flatbread in a pan. Her movements were careful, clean, almost practiced. She didn't notice him at first until the floor creaked. She turned fast, eyes wide. "I'm sorry," she said quickly. I thought you might want food. I didn't touch anything else. I didn't break anything." Derek raised a hand gently. "Easy, it's okay." She froze like a statue. Derek moved slowly and sat at the small table. "Did you sleep at all?" She shook her head. "Not needed. I worked instead." He looked at the flatbread she placed in front of him. It was warm, soft, and neatly made. He took a bite. It was good, really good. She stood still, waiting for his reaction like a soldier before a judge. "It's better than anything I've made in months," Derek said. "Thank you." Her shoulders dropped just a little, like she'd been holding her breath since sunrise. After breakfast, Derek asked her again, "What's your name?" She hesitated, then softly said, "They used to call me Unit 7 Beta." "That's not a name. I don't have one." He thought for a moment. "Do you want one?" She looked surprised. "Can I have one?" He nodded. She blinked, then looked down at her hands. "Maybe you can choose?" Derek smiled a little. "All right, we'll think of something." The day passed quietly. She didn't sit still. She cleaned every corner of the cabin. She fixed the loose cabinet door. She even repaired the broken light above the sink, without asking. It wasn't just cleaning. It was survival. She did it fast, silently, and without stopping. Derek noticed every move, every flinch when something dropped, every time she checked the window like someone might come for her. That evening, while Derek worked outside on the solar panels, he looked through the window. She was scrubbing the floor again, on her knees, using a rag. He frowned. Later, when they both sat for dinner, Derek decided to talk. "You don't need to work like this all day." She looked down. "If I'm not useful, I'll be sent away. I'm not going to send you away." "You say that now. But when I stop being useful, you'll see me the same way they did." "Who are they?" Derek asked. She stared into her bowl. "The ones who made me, the ones who owned me." Derek felt a chill. "They bought me young," she said softly. "Taught me to clean, cook, obey. And then when I failed one test, they said I was broken, that I couldn't have children. So they left me outside the city wall with the garbage." Silence filled the cabin. Derek looked at her. She didn't cry. She didn't show anger. She just told it like it was normal, like pain was part of her daily life. That night, while she rested on the floor near the fire, Derek sat by his workbench thinking. She wasn't just a guest. She was a mystery. Someone had trained her, shaped her, used her, and then thrown her away like a machine with a dent. But she was more than that. She was learning, adapting, and maybe healing. He looked at her sleeping face. So quiet, so still, but her fingers twitched in her sleep, as if scrubbing an invisible floor. Before he turned in for the night, he walked over and gently laid a second blanket over her. She stirred a little, eyes opening halfway. "I didn't finish the back room," she whispered. "I'll clean it tomorrow." "You don't have to," he said. "You're safe here." She blinked slowly, then closed her eyes again. And for the first time, she didn't wake up once during the night. It started with a scream, not loud, not angry. Just A soft broken scream in the dark. Derek jumped out of bed, heart pounding. He grabbed his old flashlight and rushed into the main room. There she was curled up in the corner, shaking, her hands over her neck like something was strangling her. Hey, you're okay. It's just a dream," he said, kneeling beside her. Her eyes were open, but distant. She didn't see him. She kept whispering, I didn't disobey. Please don't press it." He froze. Press it. Then he noticed her neck. Underneath the edge of his old shirt, something metal glint as morning light crept in. She sat quietly at the table, her head low. Derek sat across from her with a mug of hot water between them. He waited. He didn't force questions. After a long silence, she reached up with shaky fingers and pulled down the collar of the shirt, just enough to reveal the truth. A thin, silver band around her neck. Small blinking lights on the side. A shock collar. Derek's stomach turned. She spoke softly. "It's old. It doesn't shock anymore, but it's still there. Why didn't you say anything? I thought. If you saw it, you'd think I was still property." "You're not," Derek said quickly. "You're not anyone's property." She looked at him, unsure if she could believe that. He spent the afternoon searching through his tools. The collar was fused to her skin in places. Removal would be delicate. "Dangerous. I don't want you to get hurt," he said. "I'm not afraid of pain," she answered. "I just don't want it to stay." That told him more than her whole story. She wasn't trying to escape pain, she was trying to escape ownership. Hours later, with the fire crackling beside them, Derek gently worked with his precision cutter. The collar sparked once. She flinched but stayed still. "I can stop," he said. "No," she whispered. "Keep going." Piece by piece, he sliced through the locking mechanism. Each time he cut, she relaxed a little more. Until finally click. The collar fell into his hands. She stared at it. And then, her eyes filled with tears, not from pain. From freedom. He handed her the broken collar. "You want to throw it in the fire?" he asked. She shook her head slowly. "No, I want to remember." "Remember what?" "What I survived." That evening she seemed lighter. Not cheerful, but less afraid. She even smiled when she served food, just a small one, but it was real, and she spoke more. "I wasn't supposed to be smart," she said. "They told me I was just a domestic unit. I wasn't allowed to read or learn. But I watched, and I listened." "So you taught yourself?" She nodded. "Mostly from the other workers. Some of them were scientists before they were captured." Captured, not hired, not volunteers. Derek stared at the fire. "You're not a domestic unit, you're a survivor." She looked up at him. "You said something before. About a name." He smiled. "I've got a few ideas. Tell me, how about Lyra?" She paused, testing the word in her mouth. "Lyra? Too simple?" he asked. "No," she said quietly. "It's beautiful." That night, she slept without shaking. No screams. No whispering. And in Derek's hand, the broken collar sat cold and silent. But for the first time, it had no power. The day started normal. The sun rose over the quiet valley. Birds sang. The wind was calm. Lyra stood near the stove, learning how to fry human vegetables. Derek was fixing the old antenna on the roof. And then, they heard it. A sound neither of them expected. Hoofsteps. Big, heavy, getting closer. Lyra froze. Her hands trembled. Derek dropped his tools and looked out across the field. A large beast, a four-legged alien creature, was walking toward the cabin. On its back sat a tall figure dressed in dark clothes, eyes hidden behind red-tinted goggles. A traitor. Or worse, a collector. Lyra stepped back from the window, shaking. "It's them. They found me." Derek grabbed his plasma pistol and stepped outside. The rider stopped 10 feet from the door. He didn't dismount. Just smiled. Well, the alien said in a smooth voice. "Didn't expect to find company way out here. Didn't expect visitors. Derek replied coldly. I was passing through, the stranger lied. Saw smoke, thought I'd say hello. Derek didn't lower his weapon. You don't say hello to strangers with a shock beast. The alien chuckled. All right, straight to business then. You've got something that belongs to me. Derek's finger tensed on the trigger. I don't think so. Oh, but you do. The man reached into his coat and pulled out a small metal remote. He held it up between two fingers. Like bait, Unit 7 Beta. Model marked. Fitted with tracking. One of a kind. Behind Derek, Lyra gasped. She's not yours, Derek said. She was, until she ran. She's not going back, the traitor laughed. You think you can stop me, human? No, Derek said. I already did. He pointed to the broken collar lying on the porch. Try your remote now. The man pressed the button. Nothing. No shock, no pain. No response. The alien's smile faded. You made a mistake, he hissed. Derek took a step forward. No, you did. You hurt someone and thought no one would care. But now, she's not alone. The man stared at Derek. His fingers twitched near his belt, reaching for a weapon. But he paused. Lyra stepped outside. No fear in her eyes. No chains on her body. Just calm strength. And not your property, she said. Not anymore. The alien's jaw tightened. You're trash, he spat. You're broken. You're useless. I cook better than any bot, she said. I fix machines. I protect people. And I have a name now. My name is Lyra. He hissed like a cornered animal. But then, seeing both of them armed, ready, unshaken, he turned his mount and left, without a word. Hours later, the silence still hung heavy. Lyra cleaned the porch slowly, even though there was no dirt. Derek stood nearby, watching the trees for movement. They'll come back, she said softly. Won't they? Maybe, Derek replied. But we'll be ready. She looked at him. Why did you protect me? You could have given me up, taken a reward. There's no reward for doing the right thing, he said. Only peace. That night, she didn't sleep. Neither did he, but something had changed. She didn't shake anymore when she heard footsteps, and he didn't feel alone. They both knew this was no longer about survival. It was war. A quiet war. But now she had a name, and someone who would fight beside her. Lyra stood in front of the broken drone. It was old, rusted, and full of fried wires, something Derek had pulled out of his storage shed days ago. Just junk, nothing more. But to Lyra, it was a puzzle, and puzzles made her feel alive, with a small toolkit beside her. She crouched quietly in the corner of the room. Her fingers moved fast, delicate but confident. Her eyes scanned every wire, every chip, as if reading a secret language. Derek watched from the doorway, silent, stunned. This girl, this so-called discarded servant, was rebuilding Techie. Himself gave up on. Where'd you learn that? He asked. She didn't look up. Watched, listened, remembered. You're not just remembering. You're engineering. She finally looked at him and smiled, just a little. They said I wasn't supposed to think, but I did. By evening, the drone's red eye blinked to life. Lyra stepped back, wiped her hands, and whispered a code. The drone hovered, steady. Obedient. Derek walked over slowly, eyes wide. That's a combat drone, military grade. I know, Lyra said calmly. You weren't just a domestic model, were you? She hesitated. No, she said finally. But they didn't know. That night, Lyra told him everything. She had been born not in a home, but in a lab. Designed to be small, obedient, beautiful, and silent. One of many made to serve alien nobles. But something in her was different. Her mind was faster. Her memory sharper. She fixed broken kitchen bots when no one was watching. She rewrote code inside cleaning units. One time, she even disabled a guard drone that tried to shock another girl. When they found out, they punished her. You're broken, they said. Flawed, dangerous. so they sold her. Then dumped her when no one wanted her. I stopped hiding after that, Lyra said. I wanted to learn everything. Derek was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "You're not a servant. You're a genius." She looked down. "I'm just free now." "That's enough." "No," Derek said. "You deserve more than just freedom." The next day, Lyra asked to see the defense system on the roof. "I can upgrade it," she said. "Make it silent. Make it smart." Derek handed her the code panel. "Let's see what you've got." In minutes, she bypassed the lock. In an hour, she rewired the energy node. By sunset, the cabin had motion sensors, trap alerts, and drone support, all controlled by a device the size of a spoon. When Derek tested it, a red light flashed behind the shed and a second drone flew up. "Circling fast. You turn scrap into a shield," he whispered. Lyra smiled again. "I protect the home I'm allowed to keep." Later that night, they shared a quiet meal, but something felt different now. Derek didn't see her as a guest anymore, or a refugee, or a mystery. He saw her as an equal, and maybe even something more. "You scare them," he said. "Why?" she asked. "Because they tried to break you, and you got smarter." Outside, the stars glowed bright, but inside that little cabin, a bigger light was just starting to grow, not from machines, not from fire, but from one strange truth. She was never broken. She was simply never allowed to shine. Until now. Asterisk. The night was too quiet. Not peaceful, tense. Like the stars were holding their breath. Lyra sat by the window, her sharp eyes scanning the darkness beyond the fence. She had finished calibrating the defense drones hours ago, but something in her bones felt off. Derek walked in with 2 mugs. "Still watching?" She nodded without turning. "They're coming." He didn't ask who. They both already knew. An hour later, the alarm stayed silent, but the wind shifted. The animals in the valley went still. No birds, no insects. Only cold, creeping silence. Then click. A trip sensor near the back shed blinked red. Lyra stood instantly. 3 life signs, 1 cloaked. Derek grabbed his rifle. "They're trying to sneak in." "I'll handle the first wave," she said, pulling on the harness for her modified drone. It hovered behind her shoulder like a loyal pet. "No, we fight together," Derek said. She looked at him. "No more hiding," he added. She nodded once. "Then we make our stand." The first attacker didn't even get close. He stepped onto the field and was met by a shock burst from the ground. Screaming, metal, sparks. 2 more moved in fast, cloaked, silent, deadly. But Lyra was faster. She tapped a code into her wristpad. Her drone lit up red and launched like lightning, pinning one intruder to the wall with an electric net. The third one lunged toward Derek with a blade but found a plasma round waiting for him. He dropped to the ground, groaning. Derek caught his breath and looked around. "That's all of them?" "No," Lyra said, eyes narrowing. "They were scouts." Seconds later, boom. A blast hit the edge of the cabin. The power flickered. "They're trying to overload the grid," she said. "They want the drones down." "Then we hold this line," Derek said. But Lyra shook her head. "No, I hold the line." "What?" She stepped forward, her voice calm. "You helped me find my name, my mind, my freedom. Now let me give you something back." "Lyra, no, we do this together." She turned and looked at him softly. "I was made to serve, but now I choose who I protect." Before he could stop her, Lyra ran into the night, her drone following close. Derek shouted her name, but she didn't look back. She vanished into the dark. Minutes passed like hours. Gunfire echoed in the distance. Drone beams. Explosions. Then nothing. Silence again. Derek stepped outside, gun shaking in his hand. "Lyra." Then he saw her, walking through the fog, clothes torn, smoke behind her. Her drone burned, barely flying, but she was alive. covered in ash, bleeding, but standing tall. Behind her, 4 unconscious attackers dragged by ropes. One of them was the traitor from before. Lyra dropped them at Derek's feet. "Now," she said. Voice firm, "They'll listen." Later, after she cleaned her wounds and drank water, she sat beside him by the fire. "You didn't run," Derek said. "I almost did," she whispered. "That's what I was trained to do." "What changed?" She looked at him. "You opened the door." The smoke was gone, the attackers were gone, and in the quiet morning air, the cabin stood burned in places, battered, but still standing. So was Lyra. Derek walked outside, mug in hand, and paused. There she was, kneeling in the garden she had started from scraps, planting fresh seeds in the blackened dirt, her hands still bruised from the fight the night before. She hummed softly as she worked, not a cleaning song, not a work order, just a tune. Her own, "You should be resting." Derek said gently. "I've rested enough for a lifetime," Lyra replied with a soft smile. "Now I want to grow things." They spent the next week rebuilding together. The drones got new shields. The cabin received stronger walls. And the defense grid? Smarter, faster. Lyra's design, but even stronger was the bond between them. They didn't say everything aloud. They didn't need to. Their silences were full of meaning now, not fear. Just understanding. One day, a shuttle landed near the valley. This time, not to attack but to ask. A small team of human colonists had heard about the attack. They were shocked to see Derek alive. Even more shocked to hear how he survived. When Lyra stepped forward, head high, hands steady, they stared in awe. "This is the one who held them off?" One man whispered. "She's just a servant, isn't she?" Derek spoke firmly. "She's the reason I'm still breathing." And when they asked if she had a file, a registry tag, or a barcode, Lyra answered for herself. "No, I have a name." And that was the end of it. That night, after the visitors left, Lyra sat beside Derek by the fire. She looked different now, not because of new clothes or tools, but because of freedom. She didn't whisper anymore. She didn't flinch at sounds. She didn't ask, "Should I speak?" Now she simply did. "I want to teach others," she said. "Other girls like you?" Derek asked. She nodded. "They're still out there. Some still wearing collars. Some still believing they're worthless." "And what will you teach them?" Lyra smiled. "That they can think, they can feel, they can choose." She stood, looking out the window into the stars. "I wasn't made to be free, but I made myself that way, and now I want to help others unlock their doors too." Derek stood beside her, proud. "You're not what they said you were." "No," she said, gripping his hand gently. "I'm more. Because someone opened the door and didn't look away." In the months that followed, stories spread across the colony about a man who lived alone and a girl who arrived whispering promises just to stay safe. But those stories changed. Now they spoke of a woman who rebuilt weapons, saved lives, and turned a scrap of land into a beacon. And always, in every version, they said one line. She was dangerous, yes, but only to those who tried to cage her. One night, under the stars, Derek looked over and asked, "Still want to cook and clean?" She laughed, a sound that once seemed impossible from her lips. "I can," she said. "But now I choose when." They sat quietly, the fire warming. Their faces. No chains, no titles, no commands, just a man, a woman, and a future they built together.